Hello, good people of grace and those joining us from far and near. We are so excited that you have joined us for our third episode of Soul Stirring. It's all about cooking, the Bible, and music. So we're glad that you have joined us. I am Reverend Millie, and I'm rector at Grace Episcopal Church.
I am Bill Buchanan, and I'm a Presbyterian pastor and the executive director of Asheville Youth Mission and Youth Mission Co.
So here we are again, Bill, for Soul Stirring episode 3, and I am wondering what we're cooking.
Yeah, so tonight we are going to do our version of vegetarian enchiladas. And I didn't grow up doing a whole lot of cooking of enchiladas, more like tacos and things or burritos, but enchiladas are really delicious and not that hard to make. It's basically cutting up and sauteing a bunch of vegetables or whatever you want to put in it, having a sauce that you're dipping those corn tortillas, and we found that corn tortillas is pretty important, and then wrapping those up real tight and putting a sauce on it. Millie here makes her own enchilada sauce, which is something that I, didn't really ever think to do. I usually just open up a can. So Millie, tell us just a little bit about the sauce situation.
Well, again, it's my version of enchilada sauce, and to just make it give it a little southern context, basically it's a roux with a whole lot of chili powder. That's what I figured out. That's my version of it. So I really, I love making it myself because it smells so good as that chili powder is cooking and toasting up. So it's a roux, which is basically your fat. So any oil that you want to use, some flour, like 2 tablespoons of flour, and you get that going nice and brown, and then you throw in like a 1/4 cup of chili powder. Get that toasting, and then you dump in a can of stewed tomatoes, stir that up with a little salt if you want to, but you don't have to, and then it just starts to thicken and smell amazing. Oh, some cumin is really good in there, some chili powder, zest it up, spice it up however you want to, and it's easy, it's inexpensive, and it is tasty.
Yeah, so we'll put our version on a recipe. We'll write it down and we'll attach it to this so you can get to that as well. We've also heard from folks you want to see the final product, so we'll take a picture of these enchiladas when they're done, and you can see that as well.
If we kept you around until it was done, it would be a mighty long video. Yeah.
All right, so that's what we're cooking, and let's see what the Bible's got cooking. You want to tell us about our lectionary text today? I'm going to start chopping while you do that.
I do. We have Mark chapter 8, 31 through 38. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said all this quite openly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." He called the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
And it is a word, isn't it?
Not the easiest word to hear.
Not the easiest word.
I tell you, I am most struck by the first part of this text. I know Peter's a character that we always, could think that we identify with and stuff. Man, I'm really identifying with Peter in this one because I'm, I can just picture him pulling Jesus aside, saying, "Look, man,
this is not the way this is going to go.
This is not how we do this, This is not how you...
We just got going.
You're not going to influence people and make friends by, saying that the entire religious hierarchy is all against me and they're going to kill me. I mean, you don't start a movement like that. I can just picture Peter essentially mansplaining how to lead a movement in front of Jesus, right? And so, of course, Jesus just gives him the hand. It's like, no. This is not about that, and I just think, man, I'm sometimes that person, right, who just wants to, can you just tone this down just a little bit, and we'll probably go further if you just, but you can't tone police the prophet.
You can't tone police the prophet.
You just, it's.
If you do, you're gonna get rebuked.
Right. And you should.
There's a lot of rebuking going on here, right? We've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And and so I think Peter hears that, kind of steps back, and then Jesus then lays it down, right? Then Jesus gives us the truth. Look, if you really want to follow me, it's going to take sacrifice. If you really want to save your lives, you're going to have to lay it down for the sake of the prophet, for the sake of the message of the prophet, for the sake of the work of the prophet. You're going to have to leave whatever is keeping you attached in this world, pick up the cross, right? Total foreshadowing. Here we go. He's trying to let them know what's coming, what's going to happen. But of course, when the prophet speaks, often we feel like we don't want to believe it because it's hard. The prophet is often giving us hard news.
We don't want to hear it, right?
Sometimes we don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, that Jesus in other parts of the Gospels, says, the false prophets are the ones telling you the stuff you want to hear. Yeah.
Amen to that.
If it's hard to hear, it's probably an important prophetic word.
And if it makes you feel really comfortable, it's probably not
a prophetic word.
Probably not the prophetic word. And I don't mean comfort. I mean comfortable. The prophet comforts.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't keep us comfortable. And so I think that, here it is. They're hearing this news. It is difficult. He is setting them up for what it is to come, to be able to let go of him and pick up the cross and do the work themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so I'm also thinking about this whole notion of sacrifice, and I'm thinking about the fact that we're in the season of Lent. Here we are in the season of Lent 2021. I don't know about you all, but I feel like I have been giving up stuff for a year. How is it that we are supposed to really look at this in a fresh way, right? We're in the middle of Lent right now, and we have been yet in the middle of some version of Lent for a year, fasting from so much in this world. And yet when I hear this, and when I think about where we have been for a while and all of the sacrifices that we have all made, I'm aware that what Jesus is saying is not to give up the things in our life that feed us, but to give up the things in our life that keep us from really truly being fed, that really keep us from hearing the prophet, that keep us from picking up our cross, which is our ministry, right? The cross is the ministry that Jesus gives each of us. And so there's this awareness more in me this year than before, that Lent isn't about giving up chocolate. It's not about giving up things I love. It's about giving up the things that keep me from being loving.
Yeah. That's it, right? And frankly, I imagine Jesus saying, eat all the chocolate you want. How are you treating your neighbor, right? How are you...
how are you loving in this world?
Yeah, absolutely. And I when I hear stuff like pick up your cross and follow me, I think, oh God, that sounds horrible.
And when we hear lay down your life, if you want to save it, I mean, how do you feel in your body when you hear this kind of sacrificial language, this kind of call to lay things down? How does that feel?
Right. So, it's hard. And I think about, those of us who are in kind of privileged and in resourced places, those who, quote, have the most to lose, are the most struck and convicted by this, right? I think about the rich young ruler story, and he said, well, just give up all of your stuff and come follow me. And
it's that easy.
Whoa, and thinking about how burdensome that task feels, but then also think this is the same Jesus that says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. You're not in this alone.
Because ultimately, when we make the choice to lay down the things that are burdening our souls, whether that's overconsumption or a lack of compassion, when we choose to lay those things down and instead take up the cross, which is sacrificial love, then we're more fed, we're more full. There's a liberation in sacrifice.
Yeah.
There is a liberation in sacrifice. And I know I have to practice that on a regular basis with you in our home, right? Lying down my need to be right, lying down my convictions at times, my inability to feel compassion in the moment, looking beyond myself in my personal relationships and in my service in the world. It's hard work, but when I do it, in each little moment when I do it, I receive some sort of liberation, a sense of liberation, and then I'm free to be filled with love, with the love that God offers, not the love that production and consumption offers, not the love that popular culture offers, but the love that God offers. So a couple of questions. What in your life is feeling like a burden that you feel God asking you to lay down? What in your life is keeping you, is a barrier to really being fully present and loving in your ministry, in your world, in your family, with your kids, with your spouse or partner? And what support do you need in order to really lay those things down and pick up your cross and walk the way?
Nice.
All right, what's the tune for us tonight?
All right, so one of my favorite singers, we love the late, great Sharon Jones. If you're not familiar with Sharon Jones, she is
a prophet of the blues.
A real modern soul singer with a lot of great message in the music. She was born in Georgia, but did most of her recording in Brooklyn with the Dap Kings. So check out Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. This is a song called Got a Thing on My Mind. Staying focused during Lent.
Yes.
All right, here it comes.